Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Dear Kevin, my daily video series where I make a plea to Kevin Smith to watch my stuff and give me a career. Alright, so this episode, as you know by the title, is about Chasing Amy, my favorite Kevin Smith film at the moment. So, here's my Chasing Amy stuff. I have the Chasing Amy DVD, Criterion Collection film, spine number 75. Criterion Collection is fantastic. It is a continuing series of important classic and contemporary films. A lot of Wes Anderson movies are on Criterion, a lot of Kurosawa movies are on Criterion, a couple Fincher movies are on Criterion. It's a big film geek DVD collectible thing. If you're, Criterion is to movies as, the Silver Age is to comic books. Like, you gotta love Criterion Collection. This is his only film. I wish they'd do a Tusk Criterion, honestly. It'd be fantastic. It's packed with special features, as are all of his movies. All of his DVDs. And this is one I've returned to quite a bit. The commentary track in particular is fantastic. And there's some really good deleted scenes in the movie that are not in the movie. On the DVD that are not in the movie that I wish he could put someplace else. There's some fantastic writing and acting in deleted scenes that... Check it out if you haven't seen it. Next, I got the Clerks Chasing Amy screenplay book, which I forgot to mention in my Clerks video. It's got the full screenplays for Clerks and Chasing Amy. No Mallrats, because I guess that movie was an embarrassment at the time. Ha ha ha. Fantastic read. It's got the full drafts of both scripts. So a lot of the deleted scenes I talked about on the DVD are actually in the Chasing Amy book. There's an essay or two by Kevin explaining, where each movie came from. And as a film geek and as a budding screenwriter back in high school, this was my Bible in a lot of ways. This and the Pulp Fiction screenplay and the Breakfast Club screenplay, where I poured over them over and over and over again, reading every line, learning how to phrase certain things, how to structure a screenplay, what the slug lines looked like, all that stuff. I learned a lot from this book. It also helped me learn to memorize some of those lengthier monologues, such as this one here. I can't get the whole poster in the frame because it's very long, but this is the entire diner scene, which I mentioned in the last, well, not the whole diner scene, the entire monologue from Silent Bob, which I mentioned in the last video, is one of my favorite pieces of writing ever. So, last but not least on the Chasing Amy swag is the Chasing Amy 15th anniversary Blu-ray. I've got the slipcover reversed because I think it's cool. It's got pictures from the film. It's got all the special features on the last release, but also a shit ton of new stuff. Including a Q&A with the cast that was done 15 years later, so a big reunion kind of thing. It's got an excellent documentary called Chasing Amy, which I'll probably get to at some point as its own video. And it's got a brand new commentary track, which is actually also a Smodcast, with Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier talking about Chasing Amy however many years later. Alright, let's get into it. Chasing Amy. I don't know how to describe Chasing Amy. If you're watching this and you're a fan of Kevin Smith, then you already know. If you're not a fan of Kevin Smith, Chasing Amy is the movie that will make you rethink what your opinion of him is. Whether your opinion of him is, hey, it's that dude who was on The Tonight Show once, and I've seen him cameo in movies, and he's kind of funny. No, not with Chasing Amy. If your opinion of Kevin Smith is, he's the Jay and Silent Bob guy. No. I mean, yeah, they're in Chasing Amy. But no, it's not that thing. If your opinion of Kevin Smith is, he panders to young kids and makes shitty teen comedies. No, not with Chasing Amy. If your opinion of Kevin Smith is, he's the bromance guy. Sort of with Chasing Amy. But it's also exceptionally heartfelt and romantic, heterally speaking as well. Chasing Amy is a beautiful movie. And in terms of my evolution as a Kevin Smith fan, I think I'd already seen Clerks and Mallrats and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. That was the first one I saw, was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. So I went into Chasing Amy at 15, not really knowing what it was, and expecting, Mallrats or Clerks or something like that. I mean, obviously Clerks is a little bit more serious than Mallrats, and they're both a little more serious than Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, but generally I thought I had a bead on this filmmaker. He makes silly movies that have some heavy moments at times. Silly movies for smart people, that's what Kevin Smith does, or so I thought. And when I watched Chasing Amy, it blew me away. And I wasn't even sure I liked it at first. It's a very serious movie at times. There are some intense, drawn-out sequences with great writing, wonderful, witty writing, but no real jokes. Dramatic, intense moments of loyalty and friendship and betrayal, and all that good stuff. I'd already fallen in love with Jason Lee from Mallrats, and seeing him back in it, I loved him. I loved the Banky character. And the first 30, 40 minutes or so, the first 30 minutes or so, is pretty much straight up, Kevin Smith movie, but not as silly as Mallrats and not as, amateurish as Clerks. This is a polished filmmaker doing what he does best. Two dudes having really filthy conversations, and there's lesbians and comic books, and woo! But then it turns into this really crazy, powerful love story. Two love stories, really. It turns into a love story between, a man and a woman, romantic love, and it becomes a story about two best friends and what that can mean and how important, best friend love is. Anyway, all right, so the highlights of Chasing Amy. There's this scene wherein Silent Bob explains what the title means, Chasing Amy. A wonderful monologue about the girl who got away, essentially. Every single fucking thing Jason Lee does. I already showed you, it's over there. I've got the final page that from the comic book that the characters in the movie are comic book artists. I've got that signed by Kevin Smith. The big Jason Lee moment for laughs might be the four-way road joke. And I have that as well. I have it framed above my TV. It's out there, and I couldn't frame it anyway. Like, I couldn't frame it. I couldn't put it in the frame of the camera anyway, so but if you've seen Chasing Amy, you know what I'm talking about. It's essentially, here's the setup for the joke for those who are curious. There's a four-way road, and at the center of the four-way road is a $100 bill. At each of the four roads, we have Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, a male-friendly, no political agenda lesbian, and a bitter as fuck, man-hating, agenda of rage dyke. Who gets to the $100 bill first? And believe me, saying all those words together, yeah, there's some there's some offensive content in here, but it's from the character who doesn't know better. The movie is not offensive. It's one of the more powerful, profoundly positive, like love positive, body positive, people positive movies I've seen in terms of accepting those for who they are, whether they're gay, straight, bi, whatever, accepting love regardless of what it means. Chasing Amy is a big deal to me. It was in my top 5 for a very long time. And I think Ben Affleck does some of his best work ever as an actor in it. I think the script is spectacularly good. I heard a rumor that it was only 2 votes away from getting nominated for Best Original Screenplay that year, which would have launched Kevin's career into the fucking stratosphere, because it did get a Golden Globe nomination for Joy Lord and Adams, and it was highly rated. A lot of critics put it in their top 10 best films of the year list. And by the way, this is 1997. This is the year Titanic came out and won Best Picture. This is the year of Deconstructing Harry, if you're a Woody Allen film. This is the year of Good Will Hunting. It was the 90s were a really fucking great time for movies, and Chasing Amy was among them. Jackie Brown came out in 1997, and Quentin Tarantino went on record saying his favorite film of the year was Chasing Amy, and he loved it so much. He couldn't believe, what an amazing jump Kevin Smith made from his previous films to this. It's an exceptionally important film in his work, in his filmography, in his progression as a filmmaker, and it's exceptionally important to me as a fan. So I love Chasing Amy. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's a little raw, it's a little rough, and I don't mean like in an amateurish way. I mean like it can be painful at times. If you have any kind of, aggression, if you have a girlfriend that your friend doesn't like, be wary of Chasing Amy. If you have a girlfriend with a sexual history that you don't exactly approve of, be wary of Chasing Amy. If you've got a friend that you love but you don't quite understand that love, and maybe you're a little gay, maybe you're not. If you're curious about your sexuality, be careful of Chasing Amy. If you're a lesbian, be careful of Chasing Amy. There's a lot of mean anti-lesbian shit in the movie. Again, there's some very angry characters in the movie. But I can't recommend it enough. It's absolutely worth your time. For those who say Ben Affleck can't act, go watch Chasing Amy. And go watch it for Jason Lee alone. Jason Lee is, as I said in the last video, staggeringly good as the funny guy. But as the friend who's struggling with his own emotions, as the friend who is watching his best friend potentially ruin his life, and as the friend who has to deal with the repercussions of the movie, he is stunningly good. It might be his best performance ever. Maybe. He's done a lot of good shit since, but Chasing Amy is a very high watermark. He won a Independent Spirit Award for it. As did Kevin Smith, by the way. He won an Independent Spirit Award for Best Screenplay for Chasing Amy. So check it out if you haven't seen it. And my Dear Kevin this week is very, very simple. Dear Kevin, I love Chasing Amy. I can't believe how much I love that movie. I can't believe how much it stays with me after all these years. And I love the commentary tracks for both films. I love how much you love this movie. I love that you get choked up when you talk about the movie. Not because of the content, but because of behind the scenes. I love the fact that when you think of Chasing Amy, you think of Scott Mosier making your dreams come true. And you think of, a group of people coming together to help you do this thing you loved. So I love how powerful and emotional Chasing Amy is to myself and to you and to the fans of you. I think it stands apart for that reason. I think it's the most emotional film you've made. Unless your emotion is fucking walruses, then obviously Tusk, a bit above that. But just on pure normal emotions, I think Chasing Amy is very raw, very real. It must have been exceptionally fucking painful and wonderful to write and get that all out there. And so yeah, Chasing Amy is lovely, and I'm really glad you made it. I'm really glad I saw it. And as much as I want you to keep doing your weird batshit crazy Canada stuff, I would very much like to see you do another emotional piece. Like I said, write about marriage, man. I think that write about your daughter. You I've heard you talk about Harley, and over the years, you told stories about Harley on various evening whiffs and shit like that. I think that there's more to you than walruses and shit, which I love that stuff, and clearly you're having a ball doing it. But whenever you say that, like, you're making movies for you right now, I understand that. Maybe you don't want to do the emotional digging that it takes to do something like Chasing Amy, but as a fan of yours, I'd love to see something like it again. Honestly, fuck. I don't know how I didn't think of this before. Do something with Jason and your history with him. The Me and My Shadow stuff on the blog may be more emotional than Chasing Amy, because that shit really happened. So my point is, I like it when you write from the heart and write in an emotional, real, raw way. I think that all your movies have scenes like that in it, and Chasing Amy does the most with it. So thanks for that, and sincerely, George. And I'll see you guys next time in the next episode, which is going to be about my screenplay again. The next few videos I'm recording all back to back to back after a long week at work, so apologies if they're either rambly or I come across a little bit incoherent. 7-day week at work this week. Graveyard shifts all week. So cheers to that. And I'll see you next time, okay? TTFN.